Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, last week I uploaded a video on the Canon R7 and here it is. It's a camera I recently purchased and I absolutely love it. It's my probably my favourite camera. Well, not probably, actually is my favourite camera. The only reason I say probably is because I also love the Canon R6 and it's quite difficult actually to choose between the R6 and the R7, which is my favourite camera. But if I had to pick one, I would probably pick the R7. I love the R7. I went through what I liked about the R7 and its features and so on and so forth. I'll leave a link up here somewhere, probably up here, isn't it? I can never remember, you know, which one it is. But up there somewhere to the video of the Canon R7. But there was a lot of people that left comments about Canon particularly, and about the Canon R7 and the Canon R bodies. And it's quite staggering really, you know, how people think about these cameras. I want to go through some of these comments because I think some of them are really worth looking at in just a little bit more detail. So let's go through these comments, not in any particular order whatsoever. But one of the first one was, a guy said basically he's still waiting for his. He pre-ordered his in May and he's still waiting. This is a common issue with a lot of the major manufacturers. I know the Olympus OM1 was on pre-order for a long time before you could actually get hold of one. And I think now they still are on pre-order. But and that's the same with a lot of the cameras when they come out. It's difficult for the camera manufacturers to keep, you know, up to speed with production, particularly if it's a popular camera. So it's a shame that the Canon R7, and I looked about 10 minutes ago, and it is still, Wex Photographic is still on pre-order as of, well, October 2022. I was lucky I got hold of mine. I got mine from Wex Photographic, but I got it as a used one. Obviously somebody had tried it and returned it. So I got it a bit cheaper as well. So, you know, I was well happy. Now, another person has made a comment that the lock button is a bit useless. Now, on the top of, it's on the Canon R6, I think it's on all the Canon R cameras to be honest. They've put a lock button on the top there so that you can actually lock the physical controls and some of the actual controls on the screen. I agree to, you know, some extent. It would have been great if Canon could have made this button as a function button, like a lot of these other function buttons, and you could reassign it to a different function. So if you didn't use that lock feature, you could reassign it. Now, whether that can be done in firmware, I don't know. But that would be handy because it would give you yet another function button. But the only reason I use the lock button is great when you've got the camera on a tripod and you're trying to level the tripod up, or you've got it faced, so imagine it's on a tripod, you've got it faced with you like that, and you're trying to level it up, you're always knocking other buttons, and you can actually accidentally even knock your shutter speed if you're doing video, you can knock your aperture, whatever. So I do think it has its uses, but it doesn't have a wide range of uses, and I don't use it on a regular basis, so I tend to agree with that one. Now, another comment, in fact, this was a common comment. People were saying about third-party lenses, and it is a shame that Canon are not allowing third-party manufacturers to make lenses or adapters now, actually, for the Canon RF mount. I completely agree. It is a real shame. I mean, Sigma makes some lovely lenses for the Sony E mount, for the Nikon Z mount now. There's Viltrox are making lenses for the Z mount, and Tamron are making lenses for the Z mount. It's such a shame that Canon are not allowing third-party manufacturers to make lenses for the RF mount, but you are stuck, I hate the word stuck, but you are restricted to using Canon glass on the Canon RF bodies if you want to stick with the RF mount. Now, we have to remember that you can adapt Canon EF lenses, or, you know, the EF mount lenses, and that could be Sigma, that could be Tamron, that could be even, I put a Cosina lens on there that was obviously made some years ago, and, you know, it works. Some of the older lenses work to some extent, but there's more modern lenses work great, and EF lenses are fantastic value for money. There's hundreds of them. As an example, my Canon R10 that is filming up there, that's got my EFS 10 to 18 lens fitted on. Because at the moment, Canon don't make a ultra wide zoom for the RF mount. They do 15 to 30 and a 15 to 15 to 30, isn't it? And a 16 to 35, but nothing quite as wide as a 10 to 18. Certainly for the R7. I'm not talking about the R full frame bodies such as the R6, but for the aps-c bodies like the R7, there is only 2 lenses for the R7 and the R10. If you're looking at aps-c lenses, there's the 18 to 150 kit lens and the one I've got on here, which is the 18 to 45 kit lens. So there isn't a wide angle zoom for the aps-c bodies, but using the adapter, fit the 10 to 18, or I think there's an 11 to 20, Canon make an 11 to 20 as well. Fit those on here. They work great. As I say, I've got my EFS 10 to 18 lens fitted to my R10 and it's actually filming up there, living proof that it works fine. The autofocus works fine, and that's a great value for money lens. So yeah, to answer that comment, it is a shame, but it's certainly not a deal breaker because you can adapt other lenses to use with it. Someone else has made a comment how much he loves using the Canon R7. He uses it obviously for wildlife photography, and he's found that photographing birds, even if they're behind trees and bushes, the eye autofocus on the Canon bodies works great. The animal eye autofocus, as well as human eye autofocus, it ignores the obstacles around it and focuses straight on the actual subject. I can't confirm that works great for animals as yet. I haven't played with that as yet. But yeah, he's made a comment. He loves it because of the autofocus, the eye autofocus in the camera bodies. I found it brilliant. But that particular aspect of it I've not played with as yet. But yeah, I'm really pleased that he is enjoying using his Canon R7. Now this comment interested me actually, or intrigued me, because this person has put, I've lost count of a number of channels all talking about the R7. Well, obviously they will do, it's a new camera, so that's why there's lots of channels talking about the Canon R7. But they seem to be ignoring one glaring fact, he says. Obviously, if a person is a first-time buyer and they're buying the R10, the prices of the RF lenses are really high, excluding the RF 600, and he goes on about the cost of RF lenses. I don't necessarily agree. The prices of the Canon RF lenses are really, really expensive. It depends on what you're looking for. Now, quite a few, if not most, of the RF full frame lenses are quite expensive, but they do some entry-level RF mount glass that isn't expensive, and it's below the $1,000 or £1,000 price. If you look at the RF 16mm, now I know this lens is criticised, but on the aps-c bodies, and actually I love using it on the R6, but on the aps-c bodies, this 16mm lens would be about 25mm. It's an f2.8 aperture, prime lens, and it works lovely. And if you take a look at my Flickr page, I'll leave a link to my Flickr site. You can take a look at the images taken with the RF 16mm, and I'll leave a link in the description below to where you can find my Flickr page. Have a look at them. They're great. The images are lovely on this 16mm lens. So that's about 300 quid. So I don't see that as being really expensive. Then you look at the 50mm lens. I can't show it to you, it's on my camera, it's on my R6. Now that produces really, really nice results. He seems to suggest that these lenses are mediocre and not particularly good. Well, I've been using the 50mm f1.8 on my Canon R6 since I bought it, and I use it as a close-up shot. It's filming me now on my Canon R6. Works beautiful, no problem with it at all. I'm really, really pleased with that. And again, on the R10 up there, or the Canon R7, that's going to be about 70mm, 75mm, something like that. It's 75mm, isn't it? So on the Canon R7, works great. You've got the kit lenses. There's only 2 I know. You've got the 18 to 45 actually got fitted to it, and then there's an 18 to 150. They're not expensive. You've got the Canon 100 to 400. That's about 600 quid. That's not expensive. So not all the Canon RF lenses are expensive. And added to that, if you use EF to RF mount adapter, you can adapt many, cost-effective lenses, cheap lenses. I don't agree with the fact that RF mount lenses are incredibly expensive. And if you look at Nikon Z mount lenses, Very expensive, but they also make some lenses that aren't expensive. You know, so it's not just Canon. You know, Nikon, they're all making lenses. All manufacturers are making lenses where some of them are quite expensive. So, you know, it's not just Canon. Now, I did put in the title of my R7 video that I think that the R7 could be the king of aps-c cameras. Somebody has said, or two people have said, one person said that it's probably the king of Canon aps-c cameras. That's probably true, because the R10 doesn't have the same features as what the R7 has, and there are only two aps-c RF mount cameras in the Canon range at the moment. But somebody else said that the Fujifilm X-H2 and the X-H2S would be classed as the king of aps-c. I can't comment on that because I've not used either of those cameras. And I know there's several people saying the autofocus in video on the Fujis isn't as good as the autofocus on the Canons for video. So I don't know. But my experience with Fuji is exactly that. I sold all my Fuji gear because I found it just wasn't reliable. The autofocus wasn't reliable in video, but great for stills. Now, this next comment is my favourite of all of them, and I'm going to read it out. This person has put, let's be honest, Nikon and Canon are now a joke. And now a joke? What does that mean? Especially with Canon's latest third-party glass cancels and Nikon's miserable overpriced Z glass. Miserable overpriced Z glass? It's fantastic quality Z glass. I wouldn't have said it was overpriced either, but you know, there you go. Sony is BS. What does that mean? Sony make amazing cameras. They have done for years, used by many people, producing, you know, fantastic results. I love Sony cameras. I don't quite where he gets, you know, where this BS comes from. Sony is BS, but still fares better in value. Well, I don't see that either. But if you compare the Canon R7, which is about 1350, with the Sony a6600, which is the direct comparison if you're comparing aps-c bodies, that's about the same price. Maybe about £100 less, but give or take, you're looking at a similar sort of price if you're buying new. And the R7 is a more modern camera, has a higher pixel count for the sensor, 32 megapixels compared to 24, and it's an old sensor in the a6600. The image stabilization is better on the R7. It's got 2 memory card slots, where the a6600 has got 1. It's got a better viewfinder compared to the a6600. You know, and there's probably even more features that the Canon beats the Sony on. The autofocus would be better on the Canon R7, and I've had the a6600, so I can tell you the autofocus on the R7 is superior. Not by a lot, but it is better. So I don't quite get how Sony represents better value for money. I don't believe it does, but I still really do like Sony cameras. Panasonic provides value. Well, the Panasonic GH6, which is a smaller sensor than the aps-c sensor, so I think it's totally fair to compare it with that, is over 2,000 quid. Well, no, it's about £2,000, isn't it? So it's about £700 more than the R7, and you've got a 20 megapixel smaller sensor. This has got a 32 megapixel bigger sensor. But granted, the GH6 has phenomenal video features. It is predominantly a video camera, but the R7's got pretty decent video features. It's got 10-bit recording, you know, so on and so forth. So I'm not quite sure again where he's saying Panasonic, you know, represents value. Olympus is closed down. No, Olympus isn't closed down. Olympus sold their camera division to JIP, and it's been rebranded as OMD Digital Solutions. Olympus haven't closed down at all. Olympus are a really big company. They're still trading, but they sold their camera division. OMD have taken on presumably all the research and development staff, manufacturing, and the new Olympus OM1 is a phenomenal camera. It's absolutely outstanding apparently. I've not used it, but you know, all the reviewers say it's phenomenal. Its IBIS is fantastic. Its weather sealing is fantastic. You know, so it's completely wrong, or she was saying that Olympus has closed down. That doesn't make sense whatsoever. But everyone knows people love Olympus, especially after its death. Well, it hasn't died. Because it provides pure value, and he's putting capitals, provides pure value. how can one possibly say it provides pure value? The Olympus OM1 is 2,000 quid, give or take. I mean, it's 1,900 and something. It's a 20 megapixel micro four thirds sensor. The R7 is £700 cheaper, and it's a bigger sensor, 32 megapixel aps-c sensor, and there's various other features. But the Olympus does score on weather sealing and on in-body image stabilization and probably various other features. So I'm not knocking the Olympus, I'm just trying to say that, you know, you cannot say one brand represents better value than the other. It all depends on what your needs are and what you're going to be doing with it, you know. So, you know, that's completely silly to say that Olympus provides better value for money than Canon, or I'm assuming he's talking about all the other manufacturers as well. Now to my last comment, and this particular person was going on about the, you know, build quality of the, you know, Canon RF 16mm, 50mm lens and some of the other lenses. Well, they're built to a price, so, you know, just understand that. And he's basically said, in his experience, he's tried Panasonic, Canon, Fujifilm, Nikon, Pentax, and Canon was by far the worst experience. Well, you know, that's a personal opinion, and for him or her, I think it was him, that, you know, may well be the case, and I haven't found that to be the case. I love all the camera brands, I use all the camera brands, but I'm finding I love going out with Canon. I love the handling and the feel of the R7. It's just got that really, really tactile feel. The buttons are in the right place, feels really good in the hand. It's just a pleasure to use. It's just a lovely, lovely camera to use. So there we go. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so. Hit the like button if you like the content of this video. That would be fantastic. So stay tuned for more videos relating to video photography, podcasting, audio gear, so on and so forth. Cheers for now. Bye.